Every belief begins as a prayer and ends as a transaction. From the moment we kneel, bow, or whisper a name into the silence, something sacred is set in motion. But somewhere along the way, that prayer becomes a payment. What if faith was never free? What if the divine became the world's most profitable product? Look around. Megachurches built like stadiums. Online gurus selling spiritual awakenings. Holy merchandise stacked beside the altar. Donation boxes glowing under neon lights. This isn't just religion. It's an economy. One that turns devotion into revenue and belief into business. Because where there's faith, there's a market. And where there's a market, someone's counting profits. If you've ever questioned what your belief might be worth, you're not alone. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how the business behind your faith was built. And if you believe these truths deserve to be heard, share this message, like the video, subscribe for more investigations like this. Let's begin. To understand how belief became business, we have to go back, way back, before megachurches, before televangelists, before religion became a global empire. In the beginning, there were temples, and those temples weren't just places of worship. They were banks, and the priests who ran them were brokers. In ancient Babylon, Egypt, and Greece, faith came with a price tag. Offerings weren't just acts of devotion. They were currency, the exchange rate of the divine. You couldn't pray without paying. Wheat, oil, livestock, gold, whatever you had, it could be traded for divine favor. Because in those early civilizations, worship wasn't a ritual. It was an early marketplace. Priests claimed access to the gods, not symbolically, but literally. They were the middlemen between heaven and earth. And like any middleman, they charged a fee. If your crops failed, you brought an offering. If your child was sick, you brought more. If war or drought threatened your land, you emptied your stores in desperation. Fear became the product. Faith became the payment. Create the fear, offer the cure, set the price. That was the formula. And it worked. Because when the gods were angry, no one could afford not to pay. And just like that, the first spiritual economy was born. Centuries passed, and the trade of belief didn't disappear. It evolved. By the Middle Ages, religion had perfected the formula. The church wasn't just a house of God anymore. It was a corporation, owning land, collecting taxes, and managing labor. Faith turned into an invoice. Salvation became a service. And if sin was the problem, the church had the cure. For a price. They called it an indulgence, a holy receipt for forgiveness. You sin, you pay. You lie, you pay. You steal, cheat, or even kill, you pay. Forgiveness had a fee. The system was genius because guilt never runs out. It renews every day. Every thought, every doubt, every desire, all became spiritual debt. And debt is the perfect business model. The church didn't just control the soul. It controlled the purse. Kings paid it. Peasants feared it. And every coin dropped into a collection plate was one more payment toward eternal peace. But the brilliance wasn't only financial. It was psychological. Guilt became currency. Repentance became revenue. And emotion, not logic, drove the economy. People weren't just buying forgiveness. They were buying relief. The soft comfort of "you're saved now." The soothing words of "you're forgiven." And who could put a price on peace of mind? This wasn't corruption. It was innovation. Spiritual capitalism before capitalism existed. Fast forward to today. And the system has evolved again. The temples are bigger, the robes are cleaner, the messages are flashier, and the business has never been more profitable. Welcome to the modern church economy, a global franchise of belief. Here, preachers aren't just spiritual guides, they're brands. Their sermons are content. Their faith is entertainment. Every Sunday looks like a concert. LED walls, spotlights, fog machines, a production team running the show behind the scenes, camera crews, marketing managers, digital strategists, turning every word into a viral clip, TV broadcasts, live streams, books, podcasts, merch, apps. The modern church doesn't just preach, it monetizes. And the numbers prove it. Joel Osteen, net worth, over $100 million. Kenneth Copeland, estimated at more than $700 million. Benny Hinn, Creflo Dollar, Paula White, each one running multi-million-dollar ministries, private jets, luxury cars, gated mansions, all funded by the faithful. And what's being sold? Same deal as always. Give now, receive later. Only now, it's wrapped in lights, cameras, and production value. Plant the seed, they say. Give to God, and He'll give it back, tenfold. But God isn't collecting the money. They are. The prosperity gospel is just the medieval indulgence, rebranded, polished, optimized for modern audiences. Because today, religion doesn't spread faith. It scales profit. And behind every sermon, every emotional song, every tearful prayer on stage, there's a transaction, a donation form, a credit card field, a subtle reminder that your miracle is one payment away. This isn't worship, it's marketing, it's strategy, it's conversion, in every sense of the word. And every dollar given comes from one of two places, hope or fear. Hope that your pain will end. Fear that your faith might not be enough. And that emotional equation, hope multiplied by fear, is the perfect formula for endless profit. The visible money is only half the story. The real wealth hides in plain sight. Behind every sermon and every smiling preacher, there's an entire financial ecosystem built on loopholes, protected by faith. Let's start with the simplest question. Where does the money actually go? The answer? Almost nowhere it can be traced. In the United States alone, religious organizations receive more than $82 billion in tax exemptions every single year. $82 billion. No audits, no transparency, no public records, no one checking the books. They operate like corporations, but they're taxed like charities. And the best part? They don't even have to prove the product works. They just have to keep selling the dream. A dream of healing, of prosperity, of eternal reward. And people keep buying. Because the business model is genius. It's disguised as devotion. Digital giving has made it easier than ever. Tap to tithe, text to give, auto-donate every week. One click, and your seed is planted. It's faith, turned into a subscription. Every month, your card is charged. Every receipt looks like righteousness. And every payment buys you peace of mind for another 30 days. The spiritual subscription model. Pay to stay pure. But it doesn't stop there. Religion has gone fully digital. There are faith-based apps charging monthly fees for prayer groups. NFTs of sacred art selling for thousands. Religious influencers monetizing divine access. Private live streams where blessings are behind a paywall. Even the sacred has an upgrade option now. And while believers give what little they have, pastors upgrade their lives. Private jets, luxury homes, watches worth more than most families earn in a year, all tax-free. Because technically, they're not rich businessmen. They're servants of God. That's the brilliance of the system. You can't question a balance sheet if it's labeled holy. You can't audit a miracle. You can't refund faith. So while millions struggle, give, and pray for change, the business behind their faith keeps growing. Because when belief becomes untaxed, unregulated, and unchallenged, it stops being faith. It becomes profit. And for those at the top, that's the most divine reward of all. If the business of faith runs on money, its engine runs on emotion. Because no system this powerful survives without psychology, without understanding exactly how the human mind works and how easily it can be controlled. It starts with fear. Fear of hell. Fear of punishment. Fear that even questioning could cost you your soul. That's not spiritual teaching. That's conditioning. From the moment you're old enough to understand the word sin, you're taught that you are broken, and only they can fix you. Fear keeps you obedient. Guilt keeps you returning. And guilt is endless. It regenerates. Every doubt, every desire, every human impulse becomes proof that you still owe something, that you're still in debt. Spiritually, emotionally, financially. Pray harder, give more, obey completely. It's a cycle, and cycles are addictive. Neuroscientists call it a dopamine loop, the same chemical circuit triggered by gambling, by social media likes, even by drugs. You feel the fear. You pray. You get relief. The brain rewards you for obedience. And for a moment, it feels good, safe, saved. So you do it again and again until the ritual becomes reflex, until the belief becomes biology. But fear and reward aren't the only chains. There's also belonging. Faith communities don't just offer meaning. They offer identity, family, a place to belong. So what happens if you walk away? You don't just lose belief. You lose your world. Your family might cut you off. Your friends might disappear. Your entire sense of self collapses. That's not divine punishment. That's social addiction. And for many, the cost of leaving feels too high. I've already given so much, they say. My time, my money, my life. That's the sunk cost fallacy. The belief that quitting means losing everything you've invested. So you stay. Not because you're certain it's true, but because the alternative, that it might not be, is unbearable. Therapists who work with religious trauma see it every day. Anxiety, nightmares, identity loss, people terrified to think for themselves after a lifetime of being told not to. Some even develop symptoms of Stockholm Syndrome, defending the very system that held them captive, protecting the people who profited from their pain. Because deep down, they still fear the threat they were taught never to question. That's the genius of this design. It doesn't just capture your faith, it captures your mind. And that's why it lasts. It's not just theology keeping people inside, it's psychology. Somewhere along the way, faith stopped being a calling and started being a brand. Every great brand needs recognition, a logo, a slogan, a color scheme. Religion was no different. The cross, the crescent, the lotus, the wheel, each one simple, striking, memorable. The perfect logo for the perfect idea. Slogans came next. God is love. Allah is great. Truth alone triumphs. Short, emotional, easy to repeat. And repetition, psychologists say, is the foundation of belief. Walk into any cathedral, mosque, or temple, and you'll see it immediately. Rituals, imagery, color palettes. It's brand identity woven into architecture. But modern faith didn't stop there. it went corporate. Today's sermons follow the same formula as a marketing campaign. Step 1, identify the problem. You're lost. You're broken. You're sinful. Step 2, trigger emotion, guilt, fear, hope. Step 3, offer the promise. Follow us, and you'll be healed. And finally, the ask, the donation, the sign up, the conversion, problem, emotion, promise, ask. It's the same funnel every brand uses, from toothpaste to technology to theology. Even the word conversion itself means two things now: winning a soul or closing a sale. And just like any company, religious organizations now rely on data. A/B tested sermon titles, targeted social media campaigns, optimized thumbnails on YouTube, audience segmentation, tailoring each message to specific demographics, fears, and desires. They study engagement metrics, retention rates, donation behavior. Every amen becomes data. Every click becomes insight. Every believer becomes a customer profile. It's not coincidence. It's design. Because in a crowded marketplace of meaning, you have to compete for attention. You have to outshine every other promise. And faith, packaged right, sells better than anything else. The churches become stages. The sermons become scripts. The leaders become influencers with merchandise, hashtags, and fan bases. They're not just preaching belief, they're managing a brand. And maybe that's the quiet tragedy of it all. That something once meant to unite now functions like every other product on the shelf. Because when your God needs a marketing team, maybe it's not God you're serving. It's the brand. Behind every empire of belief, there are the people it breaks. The ones who walked away. The ones who spoke up. The ones who were never meant to be heard. Some of them wore the robes. They preached the sermons. They knew the script by heart because they helped write it. Jim Bakker, a televangelist who sold salvation like a product. He built a Christian theme park, promised heavenly rewards, and pocketed millions. Fraud, bribery, scandal, prison, and still, somehow, he's back on television, selling end-time survival buckets to this day. Benny Hinn, the man of miracles. He waved his coat, healed the sick, and filled arenas with desperate souls. Until investigations found no evidence of actual healing, only private jets, luxury homes, and a net worth that rivaled kings. Years later, he admitted it. The teachings were manipulative, the message excessive, but the show never stopped. Then came Scientology, a religion built by a science fiction writer, L. Ron Hubbard, who once said, "If you want to get rich, start a religion." Ex-members have described a world of control and fear, tracking, intimidation, blackmail, families torn apart, lives destroyed. The kind of faith that doesn't set you free. It keeps you owned. And these stories aren't rare. Ex-pastors, former nuns, disillusioned imams, missionaries who woke up one morning and realized they were part of the very system they once preached against. When they spoke out, they lost everything: their communities, their families, their safety. Some faced public shame. Others received death threats. Many still live in hiding. But still, they speak. Religious trauma therapists hear it all the time. The panic attacks, the nightmares, the crushing guilt that doesn't vanish just because you stop believing. It lingers. It shapes you. It scars you. And yet, these people keep telling their stories because silence only protects the system. Truth, no matter how costly, is the first act of healing. They gave their lives to truth and lost everything but themselves. And maybe that's the greatest faith of all. to believe in honesty, even when it destroys everything else. Zoom out, and you'll see that this business doesn't end at the church door. It stretches across borders, across governments, across the entire planet. Faith has gone corporate. From pulpits to parliaments, belief now has shareholders. Religious institutions aren't just spiritual voices anymore. They're political players. They lobby lawmakers, fund campaigns, shape policy, influence elections. In some countries, entire parties are backed by churches. In others, religious leaders dictate social laws on education, marriage, medicine, even science. They hold press conferences, manage PR teams, and use fear not just to guide souls, but to steer nations. And the money? It's staggering. Faith-based NGOs collect billions in global donations every year. They operate with the scale of corporations, marketing departments, legal teams, real estate portfolios, tax-free, untouchable, beyond the scrutiny of the systems they influence. Some of them provide real aid. Others use charity as a front, a moral mask that hides profit and propaganda. Because influence isn't just about money, it's about narrative. Control the story, and you control the people. Control the people, and you control the power. That's the true globalization of belief. An empire built not on armies, but on ideas. And the higher you climb, the clearer the view becomes. This isn't about God's will. It's about market share. So where do we go from here? After everything exposed, the money, the fear, the manipulation, what's left to believe in? The answer isn't to destroy faith, it's to free it. Because faith and the business of faith are not the same thing. One connects you to meaning. The other sells you the illusion of it. One invites questions. The other punishes them. One humbles the ego. The other feeds it. Real spirituality doesn't need to be bought. It doesn't come with a receipt or a subscription plan. It doesn't demand guilt or obedience. It asks only for honesty and the courage to seek truth for yourself. You don't owe anyone for your soul. Not a priest, not a preacher, not a prophet. Your worth isn't measured by your donations. Your goodness isn't determined by your fear. And your salvation was never something that could be sold. If belief is to mean anything at all, it must be born from freedom, not from contracts, not from coercion, not from control. Because maybe the real awakening isn't losing faith in God, but losing faith in the people who built a business around His name. Maybe enlightenment isn't found in temples or sermons, but in the quiet space where you dare to think for yourself. You don't need anyone to sell you the truth. You just need the courage to face it. The truth was never behind a donation box. It was always waiting inside you. The business behind your faith isn't just financial, it's emotional. Because what they're really selling isn't salvation, it's certainty, the comfort of answers, the relief of belonging, the promise that someone else has it all figured out. And for that comfort, millions have paid with more than money. They've paid with silence, with guilt, with years of obedience to a system that profited from their devotion. But belief, real belief, was never meant to be bought or branded. It was meant to be honest, alive, evolving. Maybe the real act of faith isn't believing in the system, but daring to question it, to stand alone in the uncertainty and still seek truth, not because it's easy, but because it's real. So if this message made you think, if it helped you see faith from a new perspective, share it. Let it reach someone who still feels trapped in the price tag of belief. And if you want to keep exploring truths they'd rather you never ask about, like the video, subscribe, join the conversation. Because the truth doesn't need protection. It just needs to be heard. And sometimes, that's the only faith worth having.